Fire Your Boss. I'm your host, Jim Batu. This is my co-host, Kevin Ling. Say hi, Kevin.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, we are super excited to share another episode with you guys today. We have the unbelievable Rebecca Bormann on from RB Consulting, and her story is going to inspire you, inform, instruct, and we're just really excited that you tuned in. And so we've got a lot of content to share today. We're going to get right into it. And so we always love to start off our episodes, Rebecca, with just hearing somebody's story, right? Their journey. Like that's half the battle is how we got here, how you got into a position where you could fire your boss and launch your own company. And so if you just want to break the ice for us, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here. I think this is such important work. I think we, like you said, we inspire and learn and inform one another from hearing everybody's stories and journeys. Like the testimony, I think is one of the most powerful tools we have to connect, one another, near and far with platforms like this now. So, a little bit about me, originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, moved around a bit growing up, always in the Midwest. Found Indiana that way through my, when I was a kid, my dad's work up in Fort Wayne. And I actually made it down to Indianapolis in 2007 for my corporate job, not the one where I actually fired my boss, but and have been in Indy ever since. And it's home to me now. So I can't imagine living anywhere else than Indianapolis. We've got great people and it's just the right size, not too big, not too small, plenty of sporting events and concerts and one of the best airports in the nation. So easy to get.
Traffic used to be amazing.
I'm a big traveler.
Traffic used to be amazing until like 12 to 18 months ago.
That's true too, construction. But if that's the worst thing, then I think we're doing pretty good. But right. I spent the first 20 years of my career working in corporate America for Fortune 100 organizations, major technology firms, selling technology. So I've been in sales, business development, and marketing my entire career. I loved it. I really did. I love talking to people, and in a role like that, I got to meet folks from California to New York. I was traveling, learning about manufacturing organizations and major law firms and production companies and trading companies and just great people, and had a great career and decided to move companies, as we do sometimes after like 15 years. And I worked for an IT managed services firm headquartered here in Indianapolis. It was kind of a shock for me because I went from working for like Fortune 20 to like $100 million company. And, that's a big, small business, but compared to Verizon, my firm, it was not. I was used to lots of resources and maybe a little bit like when you have an idea, it's hard to get it done because it has to go up so many levels. And then at the new company, they're like, great idea. And I'm like, cool. They're like, and who's going to do it? And they're like, you, it was your, it was your idea. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Again, same thing there. Like it was a great career until it wasn't. It is kind of how I like to say it. I led business development and marketing and sales for the organization for almost 7 years. Again, got to travel the country, meet amazing organizations, had great teammates, and was constantly asked to do more things, which I thought was a good thing. It meant I was doing a good job, that I was asked to do more things, and, would excitedly say yes. And found myself, working 70 plus hours a week on the regular. Mm-hmm. And when I approached the conversation of, hey, I'm getting these more things, but guess what's not changing? my pay structure isn't changing. My access, to like the information wasn't changing. I wasn't getting promoted to the leadership team, although I was doing some of those responsibilities. And I was still doing all my old responsibilities too. And, I got a lot of, oh, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. And I believed it until it became very clear that they were just going to keep on giving me more work without all the right access, tools, visibility, or the right compensation, for the work that I was doing. And I shared frustration about that. And it kind of was met with, sort of blank stares. Like, well, you have a great job, you're making a ton of money, you like what you're doing. Like, why are you complaining? And
Right.
and for me, working in a primarily male dominated field, I mean, I was very frequently the only woman and the youngest person in the room. It
Mm-hmm.
was I was watching all the other people climb, around me, and I was staying at the same. And ultimately, I decided, well, I'm going to go figure something else out, right? So I started a side hustle, a side consulting business. Lots of men on the leadership team had these consulting businesses. I
Mm-hmm.
reviewed my contract, all those sorts of things. It was good. I could do it as long as it wasn't a conflict of interest. It wasn't. My consulting was focused on sales and marketing, not technology, no conflict of interest. And
Mm-hmm.
ultimately there was different rules for me than there was for some other folks. And I decided I didn't want to play by a different set of rules than everybody else had to. So left corporate America and said, never thought I was going to be an entrepreneur, but I am now. So
Right.
my vision was really being like the CEO of like a major technology company. That's what I thought I was going to do. And it became really clear that that company definitely wasn't where it was going to happen. And it felt really defeating to have spent 20 years, in this industry, building this career, and to have to move laterally or start over. I didn't want to do that. And if
Mm-hmm.
I was, then I wanted to do it for myself, and I was going to do it my way. I totally believe in equity and belonging and creating spaces where everybody gets to um, use their gifts to live in their purpose and to serve, and that we're like we have the same opportunities and the same access. So that's the kind of organization I wanted to found. So started RB Consulting. Started a lot with like sales training, and found out really quickly, like, I don't want to be a trainer. That's not what I want to do all day long.
Okay.
I was used to working with major enterprise clients on complex solutions, solving big problems. And I missed the strategy piece of that. And I also missed like the long-term relationship aspect. It felt really transactional to me to like work with a group for 12 weeks and then be like, see ya, and then work with the next group. So
Mm-hmm.
the business evolved pretty quickly into like fractional CMO and consulting work. I really focused on serving women, minority, and like local businesses that were wanting to grow, had often tried various tactics of sales and marketing and didn't quite find the right mix. Oftentimes they were kind of disjointed, and we really need to have a strategy putting those all together. So I started working with those organizations to build the plans and to figure out who was their ideal client and what's the message that we were relating to them, and what's the why and the story and the value, and what's the transformation before and after working with your organization. And
Man, you're getting
that
me
was really
excited
great.
about marketing already.
Yeah, good. I
Getting me
love that.
fired
I
up.
love that. And then I found out again really quickly, like, it was great they had these plans, but they either had their existing team was at capacity and couldn't take this on, or they didn't have the expertise to take this on. So I said, okay, we can help with that. So I started building a team of web developers and graphic
Mm-hmm.
designers and social media experts and SEO folks and copywriters, so that we could not only build this strategy and plan, and we leverage all the things that I've used in enterprise over the years. And now we have a team that we can be the marketing agency, the arm to help with the pieces or parts or all of it that our clients can't put together. And we
Mm-hmm.
believe in keeping people first and also using data to inform our strategy. So we use a lot of different tools to track the metrics. We establish goals with our clients to get to, from the start, so we can build a strategy that will achieve those goals. So that's kind of where I started and where I am now.
Nice.
How
Well,
long
what you
ago did you
didn't.
fire your boss?
Oh, well, I fired my boss. It was kind of a mutual firing, to be really honest. I told you I launched my consulting company while I was still employed at the other organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I was given an ultimatum to either stop that company or stay at the company that I was at. And I said that I had made a choice that I was going to invest in this business and what I was doing. And we parted ways.
Oh, that was you. That was good. You fired your boss. Don't downplay that.
Yeah. It was, I think
How long ago was that?
I would have tried to do both, I think,
Right.
had that been the case, but it just didn't work out. It didn't work out that way. And he said, there's the door. And I said, okay, I'm going to walk through it, sort of thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think you didn't go back far enough in your story there. You're an IU girl, right? And you got a Purdue guy sitting there with Jim. So you guys
Well, yeah.
Business brings the world together, Kevin, right there. Business, entrepreneur, the entrepreneurial fraternity outweighs the Big Ten fraternity. So,
truthfully,
that's my affirmation.
I went to both. I went to Purdue and IU. I actually started my education journey at Purdue. I thought I was going to be a pharmacist. People in my family are in the medical field. There's lots of pharmacists and nurses, and I always thought science was cool and you can help people. And I worked while I was going to college to help pay for school. And I found out that I didn't really like going to the same place every day and doing the same thing like that. Like that's what being a pharmacist was like. And I didn't really know you could do other things other than work in a retail or a hospital pharmacy. So I actually dropped out of Purdue. So I'm sorry I didn't graduate from there. And applied to like 50 jobs. And I was like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do before I spend tens of thousands of more dollars, on something that I'm not going to use. And that's where I found technology. And I had already had sales jobs before. And so that's where the kind of sales and problem solving and, being like guiding folks in their business journeys started for me. So eventually I went back to school, and my first degrees I got actually from Indiana Wesleyan in business and communications. And then years later, I got blessed to go through an entrepreneurial accelerator program that partnered up with the Indianapolis Chamber, Mid-States, and Kelly School of Business, and got executive certifications in financial strategy, business strategy, and sales and marketing.
So you're not lazy.
No.
Always moving, always learning.
Yeah, I can't imagine you being stuck behind a counter at a CVS from like 9 to 5 doling out pills. That doesn't seem to be a good fit.
And you've known me for 20 minutes. I would be crawling out of my skin.
Yeah, I think we, all of us would. That's just how we're wired. So congratulations on what you've built yourself, because that's amazing just to hear you've built a team and you've pivoted from I'm fractional and coaching and learning and training, and you've just like learned from each of those things. Like, this is either I do like this, I don't like this, but that's how we learn. You just dip your toes in, you try that. I like it, I don't. Do I get energy from it? And that's how I do it. Is, am I excited about it? Do I keep going back to this? And if not, then it just kind of tells me I don't want to stick to this anymore. I need to move away from that. And that means either find someone else to do it for me, or we just don't do that anymore. But it sounds like one of my questions is, how's it gone? Has it gone as you expected? And it sounds like maybe some not, but, tell us, when you really thought about this going out on your own that day, when you saw the door, and, has it been what you thought in your own vision, or have you had to is it completely different?
Yeah. I think the answer to that is both, a little bit in some ways. Like I said, I was never someone who really thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. I really thought I was, going to be in the C-suite in New York somewhere, sitting in one of those fancy buildings, flying all over the place. And when I decided, entrepreneurship, I was going to give this a go as opposed to trying to go do the same thing someplace else after being unsuccessful, in my opinion, because I wasn't able to climb that ladder. I felt like I hit that glass ceiling and no one was going to let me break through it, even though I knew I was capable, of doing it. Yeah. And again, I've done a lot of community work. I've done a lot of nonprofit work. I was the president of Women in High Tech, a major nonprofit around here that focuses on equity for women in the STEM fields. I was president of that organization. So I've done a lot of speaking and training on sales and marketing and your confidence and telling your story. So So that's where like the idea is, okay, if I'm going to do this on my own, people are asking me to come do this work all the time. Teach me how to do this, teach me how to market, teach me how to sell, teach me how to connect with, with people, right? Because I always say sales is such a funny word because I'm not really selling anything. I'm listening to my clients and their troubles and helping them figure out a problem. And I have the solution. It's either
Right.
through my organization or through someone in my network that I can connect you to that can solve that problem. So I would say sales is it's about finding your yes, and it's doing that service of connecting that solution to whatever, that problem with whatever the yes is. So I said, okay, I'll go, this is what my business will be. I'll go train and teach this and show people that sales doesn't have to be this kind of yucky thing, that the business world has this connotation, like, spam emails and I'm going to try and change your mind, even though you don't need this, you need to buy, I want you to buy it anyways. That's really not it. And I've worked with and led hundreds of sales professionals in my career, and all of the ones that have longevity in it, the first thing that say is they like to help people. So they're not really there to sell you anything at all. They just want to help fix something for you, make it better, make it easier, sort of thing. So I thought this is a great message, and it's needed in our business community. And to your point, and to Jim's point, like, that was kind of the whole, I'm doing the same thing every day, the same content, different people. Like, I liked meeting the new people, but it just wasn't completely fulfilling. So we trained a couple hundred people in like the first year of our business. And so we got great feedback on it. And I didn't want to take that away, if that's something that was helpful to people. So what we did is we actually turned it into an online course. So I worked with an instructional designer, and we actually launched the online course earlier this year in April. So now we made it super accessible. It's a 6-module course that's really about people first selling. Starts with talking our strategy and our mindset and how we define it and what we think about it, because that all matters, and how we show up in the world. We talk a lot about influence and persuasion from the ethical perspective and how it's related to psychology, like the science of why people say yes. We talk a lot about understanding your why, because that's more important than your what, and how do we tell that in a story to connect with our ideal audiences, and talk a lot about the buyer's journey. Because when I started in sales, it was all about the sales process and trying to get your client on that. The world doesn't operate that anymore. It's about understanding your buyer and how does their process work and how does their decision-making work, and then adapting to follow that with them. And so we launched it online. So we're excited that folks are, giving that tool out. We wanted to make it really, really accessible. So it's $100 for about 10 hours worth of training content that's interactive and video. And you have all kinds of worksheets and guides and things like that you can use afterwards. And I said, okay, that felt like that chapter was kind of closed as far as the training goes for me. And I said, okay, I want to have a bigger, role in these organizations and helping them strategize and grow. I mean, that's what I had been doing for the last decade, is like overall marketing and business development for $100 million company. And I said, surely there's businesses around here that want to get there. Well, I know how to help you get there. I've closed $500 million myself in my career, and worked with brilliant people that I learned all these things from, like, along the way. So I could see how to adapt that to a $2 or $5 or $10 million organization, to take their strengths, and then how do we message those into the market to connect with their ideal clients so they can solve problems and have a bigger impact. So that's where the consulting came in, the fractional CMO type of work. And then again, like, there was a need, okay, we have this plan, we have the strategy, but I don't have anyone to implement it. I'm not a graphic designer. I'm not a web developer. But I know all those people, right? And I said, oh, I can help you solve that problem too. So we built the team. So that's what it was about, trying to make it easier for the people that I was already serving through my work. And I think it surprised me in some ways, because I didn't have this like really defined path like I had in like the corporate world, in my head. So in some ways it was kind of easier to see the opportunities because I wasn't quite sure, what I was looking for. I wasn't laser focused on a specific thing.
Yeah. Jim, I know you want to get to, because we talked beforehand, Rebecca, I know Jim's excited about you building a team. He wants to talk a little bit about team and culture and so forth. So I know he's got a question on that, but prior to that, I'm just hearing the big theme. One, it's awesome that you did the training session online because, you know, for people listening, I mean, that's a way to scale your knowledge so that you don't have to do this every time. It's there, people can use it, and it's a revenue stream that keeps happening while you're sleeping. All of those things are a great way and a reason to do online courses and so forth. But so that was awesome. I think what I heard overall though is that I'm one of these people that loves to lay out the perfect plan, and I'm going to keep reading and learning and asking questions from people that are smarter than me so that I got like this perfect thing. And then all it does is keep me from taking the step. So I think the important thing that I learned was once I finally started taking steps, like new things just open up. You just see things differently. So the books are great. The people with experience around you, if you surround yourself with smart people, can help you and you can learn from their experience. But until you actually start, you really don't see all the possibilities and the challenges and all of that. You just got to go. And then once you go, you know, just go, and you'll make decisions along the way, and then new things pop up and you decide what's for you and what's not. And I kind of felt like that's been your path too. So it's very great to hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. I definitely am like, I'm happy to make a decision and knowing that like I'm gonna have to make another one. So I'd rather get going and start collecting the data on like what it is that people want and need, and then I can adapt. As I learn that information.
Well, Kevin, that I just sent that Earl Nightingale's "The Strangest Secret" to you earlier today, and one of the things that hit me the most. I mean, I listened to that. Somebody out of the blue, literally, that I've never seen again. This is back. I'm dating myself, but they go, "Hey, we know you're into self development," and they handed me a cassette tape, and it said "The Strangest Secret" on it. And I told you I've listened to it probably 100 times over the last 20 plus years. And one of the breakthroughs for me was because I'm a recovering analytical, you know. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you're in recovery yet, but I can be your sponsor if need be. But Earl Nightingale said, persistence is another word for faith. Now, this is before I got my spiritual life together and started understanding my personal faith journey. So I never grew up, my parents didn't talk about faith or anything like that. And then when he told me that, I was like, if I was in an interview, I'd tell you, I'm the most persistent person you ever met, Rebecca. This is why I should be part of your team, right? And he said, persistence is another word for faith. You wouldn't persist if you didn't have faith. And that really changed my perspective on how I even viewed myself. And I'm like, well, maybe I do have faith, right? So I think those steps that you were talking about, and some people just seem to charge, and other people like you and me maybe like sit down and go, okay, well, because we don't want to make that mistake, right? But the reality is, as an entrepreneur, you have to have some level of faith. If it's in a higher power, great. If it's in yourself, if it's in your mama, whatever it is, because you just got to take one step and just assume the next step is going to be illuminated for you, even though you can't see it right now. And the folks that do that typically are rewarded, and their faith grows because they're like, wait, it did work out. And I met the person I was supposed to, or this door opened for me, and I'm able to stay in business another month. And it just keeps feeding on itself, you know, if you're in that zone. And so it's just a great lesson to learn in business, because if you don't have the answers, which most of us don't when we get this thing started, you know, I heard yesterday, it's very difficult to steer a parked car. Like, you have to be in motion.
Yeah.
You have to be in motion, right?
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
So
and I couldn't agree more. What gets
you out of bed every day, Rebecca? Like, what gets you out of bed? What keeps you fired up and excited? Is it like you talked about helping clients find their why before you create a marketing plan, which is an awesome strategy, right? Why are you doing this? And then we can figure out what you need to do. But what is it? What's your why? What gets you out of bed?
Yeah, I mean, you gave me a great segue into this because faith is a huge part of my life, like all of it, business, personal, relationships. it's been a guiding force in my life for a long time. I did grow up going to church. I was raised Catholic, but I actually found a little later in life, in my 20s, like how to really have a relationship with God, and that's been life changing for me. Catholicism is wonderful. It works for millions and millions of people. For some reason, I didn't get that, from 12 years of Catholic school and going to church 4 days a week. But I was introduced to a wonderful pastor here, and started to learn like God has a plan for me. Like it's not about necessarily following all these rules. It's about communicating and listening and asking and all those sorts of things. So it's really that. Yes. It's living in my purpose and being a vessel to help make this world just a little better place, because God gave me unique gifts and talents, just like he gave them to you, Jim, and you, Kevin. And how do I use those in big and small ways to to make a positive impact? Like we talked a little in the beginning about like a testimony, right? So I really believe that we share our time, our talents, our treasures, and our testimony. And those are the tools that we're given here on earth to do good. So that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. Some of the gifts that God gave me is discernment. So I'm not really I'm not the ideation person, but all the entrepreneurs that are always inventing and have the next solution and the next product, I can see how it's going to work and how it's going to connect to, individuals to provide value. And really galvanization is the other part. I love being a cheerleader for everybody else. I love seeing other people excited because they're living, in their purpose. So that might be a scientist that created something that doesn't know anything about sales and marketing. Well, great. Teach it to me, and then I'll help you figure out how to, how to find the people that you can serve. That makes me so excited to see, other people living in that moment. One of my life mantras is lift while you climb, right? I think we're not supposed to get to the top and then look down. We're supposed to be pulling, holding each other's hands, going up together. So that's literally it. It sounds so just I don't know. I wish there was something more.
No, that's it right there. That's the key, because
that's it.
Yeah. People are interested in people who are interested in them. So you're interested in people and you're cheerleading people. And what do most small business owners not have? Right? They're lonely, isolated, and overwhelmed. They do not have somebody grabbing pom-poms on a regular basis going Kevin, you can do it. You're a stud of studs. You're a double stud. You're nothing but a double stud, dude. Today's going to be an amazing day. So if there's somebody in the business world that's a coach, a consultant that can come along them and not just say, do point A, point B, here's the Venn diagram, but actually cheerlead them, believe in them, and find out what's important to them. There's your differentiating factor right there.
Well, and some of it too is a great, Kevin's a great example because he and I got to talk, and he's an operations detailed guy. I am not. I don't want to do any of that. But if I can help him with his marketing and business development, amplifying those messages, then he gets to spend time in the part of his business that he loves, the part that gives him energy. And then we get to, my company, my team, we get to be the ones that galvanize that message for him in the community. That's not to say that he's never going to have to get on a sales call again, because people are going to want to talk to Kevin. But, the whole communications and digital marketing and living on social media and going to 1,000 events, that's not Kevin's jam, but we can do some of that for him to give him time to focus on where he wants to really focus.
I'd probably have to have a lot of alone time after that tour of visiting everybody. I can chat with people, but it takes a little more out of me than probably you guys.
No, I'm an introvert. You just don't know me as that. But I go in my basement and plug my guitar and play loud music to recharge my batteries.
And I get that. I'm actually an ambivert, right? So in certain scenarios, I get all my energy from people, but I also have this wonderful backyard that I live in the city, but it's kind of sunken in, right? And have a big fence and lots of flowers and big trees. I literally feel like I'm the only human on earth when I'm sitting back there. Right. And that is what I do. I sit out there, I tinker in my flower gardens. I have my dogs. maybe I have music, maybe not, but like give me 4 hours on a Saturday by myself to do that.
Yeah. Well, tell me, Rebecca,
Nice.
what's something that, I mean, we've obviously heard in your tone and and we can see you that you're how excited you were talking about all this recently. But what's something that has been really hard that you've had to like the hardest thing you've had to overcome to keep this going? You know, I mean, when I hear you say you've built your team and you have, I think you told me you might have 12 people working with you. You know, that's getting large compared to where you started. I still am a solopreneur, so I'm just me. And I kind of like it that way now. I mean, I managed people for 20 plus years. So having this time right now where it's just me and doing all of it, I actually really enjoy it. But you've gone from just you to 12, but sorry if I misdirected
No,
you, but
you remembered correctly.
what's been hard, like the hardest thing you've dealt with in this journey?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we've grown quickly because we're about 2.5 years in, and it's 12 with our two interns. One of them's from Purdue. Jim, you'll be very happy, and she's phenomenal, like
Of course
phenomenal.
she is.
Um, I think some of the hard things are I have doubts sometimes too, right? Like, is this really going to work? Can we make a difference? And so, that's where for me it's making sure I spend that time with God, do my journaling, get in my flower gardens, do some yoga, talk with my trusted, advisors, my crew, make sure I'm showing up at church service and like paying attention, not just going, not just going through the motions. Like that happens to me sometimes. So, I had to, make sure I check back in and like, okay, like you want to live in your purpose, you got to show up to do that. I'm blessed to have amazing mentors in all facets of my life. So remembering to ask them for help when I need it. I can kind of get a little stuck in like, I'll just figure it out mode. And that can be defeating, if you will, especially because I've countered all kinds of new things in entrepreneurship that I just didn't in corporate America because I had so many resources everywhere all the time. And I think one of the other hard things is I had to fire my first client this year. That was super difficult. They were actually an incredible organization doing amazing work that we were super passionate about supporting. It was work for kids, right? So, but the way that they worked didn't work with my team. And I watched my team trying so hard to support them because they were also passionate about the work that this company was doing. And it just wasn't working. We have a process. Most of our clients, we have like a retainer type model in, right? They contract with us for a year to do a specific scope of services. We lay out timelines, all these different things. We plan quarterly, so that way we can execute in excellence, whether it's graphic design or web development or SEO or digital ads, whatever it is in our scope. And we establish in the beginning the metrics that matter to the business based on their goals. And that's how we track our projects. We do monthly reports and quarterly business reviews with our clients to see what's going on and to use the data to inform these decisions. And in this particular instance, it was constantly changing. The targets were constantly changing. The business goals were constantly changing. The messaging was constantly changing. And that is not a recipe for success for an organization or a partnership when the target is always being moved. And we tried for 6 months to, figure out how to support them and had some come to Jesus conversations, if you will, about like, this is what we agreed to. Like, how do we get back here, or what do we need to change that's still within this parameter? And ultimately, they wanted like more of a staff augmentation model. We're not set up to do that. They just wanted a human to tell what to do specifically day in and day out. And because I have like specialized resources, I couldn't support that. So, I had to have that tough conversation. It's like, I understand what your business is asking for, but we're not set up to deliver it in a way where I can just pull humans off of things, because we have other clients that we're serving too. So I did make a recommendation on some like folks that do have services like that. Like, I think this is what you need for where you're at in your business. right now, but we had
Well,
to say thank you,
what
but no thank you.
Yeah, what's been was there anything in that, from a feeling perspective that you're like, you said this was hard? Is it because of, letting them down? Was it because that was a client that was paying and now you're going to lose the revenue? Was it like, what was the thing that made it the hardest, I guess,
Yeah.
feeling perspective? And then was it fear? Did that actually play out better once they
Yeah.
were gone, or was it a good?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was hard for a couple. The money wasn't really a big factor. I mean, I'm in business to make money, but I think what's for me can't be taken away. Like God, when something opens up, God fills it up. That I think that's just the way. I think that's the way it works when you're trying to live His plan. Um, I think that one of the hardest part is we really believed in what they were doing and that we could help them in the plan that we set up. And it's like, it's almost like, your mom tells you to go brush your teeth and you don't want to brush your teeth, like your teeth are going to eventually fall out.
Yeah.
So like we knew how we could tell them to brush their teeth, but they wouldn't do it,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So we saw how to do that. And then, and had a few conversations where they're like, okay, I get it. Yes, go do it. And, so I think that was hard, is like, we saw how we could help and we just weren't really allowed to. And, there's a little fear around like, well, what are they going to say? What are they going to say about us and me? And, that's where I just had to have, refocus that belief and that, what's for me can't be taken away. So no matter what they do, whether it's amazing or terrible, our business is going to, continue to grow and serve who it's supposed to serve.
I love it, that mindset. Right. Because at first I thought, is this, that sounded like abundance and scarcity, but you seem like a person that's full of abundance. You see the world, that there's plenty out there. I just need to find the right people to work with. And this just didn't turn that way. But that was such a great lesson. And so I like also how, you said, hey, it isn't us, but I've got some people that I'll refer you to. So this is you helping them find another path. And they're not just left for, I'll see you later, this isn't for me. So you did a great thing there, paying it forward for them, I think. And
thank you.
And then moving forward and doing work that, you're working with clients that maybe, I don't know if that changes how you even vet a client. And now, like, are you really like, hey, I know what to ask now, a different question to ask now when I vet a client?
Yes, because I would tell you, I had a feeling when I signed the contract that it was potentially going to be a challenging client. And I thought, but we can do it. We can figure out, we can help them change. and that's hard, unless the other person is really willing to change. And while they said they did, there was definitely signs that they probably actually didn't want to. So my lesson is to pay attention to those and to not engage and say, hey, this over here might be your solution until when you look like this, that's how we can help you. Because for me, like, I want my team to come to work and be excited and have fun. And of course there's going to be stressful times. We have client deliverables and deadlines, and sometimes things do change. Like, there is inevitable change, right? That we get to deal with. But I don't want my clients to feel like they're getting beat up or that they're not delivering when they are. So I will do everything in my power to make sure that, we're setting up the right expectations in the partnership in the beginning for my team, because this is how we work. This is how we deliver. And we want to have fun. We joke around and we like to have snacks and we tease each other and we do funny videos that we then maybe post later on social media, like, all these different things. And our team, my team we have 2 interns. So we have a 19-year-old, 2 19-year-olds, and up to 70 like on our team. And we get to learn and collaborate together, and just that sort of environment is really important to me. So I watched how they wanted to help so badly, but we're getting blocked, kind of, for lack of a better word. And I don't want them to have to deal with that again.
I mean, I think it shows a ton of integrity, I think that is makes me want to do business with you and refer business to you, because
Thank you.
you literally, when somebody's 2 years into a business, I don't know what the stat is, but a large majority would have put cash flow over how effective can we be with this client. Like, I don't think it's a good fit for us. I don't think we're a good fit for them. I don't think it's going to be effective. And you put the best interest of the client and your team over dollars. And that's a big dadgum deal. I've been doing this. I fired my boss 23 years ago. That is not, as you know, just even from being in corporate America, most companies are putting dollars over people. And you had a line in the sand, and it's a big deal. So I applaud you for that. I mean, it's just what we do. It's, good people do
Thank you.
the right thing, but I don't know if anybody's told you, but that's a big deal, and I'm proud of you for doing that. Really.
Thank you. You're like, I'm blushing. You're like embarrassing me, but
No,
thank you.
it's a
I
big
like
deal.
totally
Kevin,
received
you
the
know what I'm
compliment.
talking about, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I totally received the compliment. And to your point, I saw way too many times in corporate America and multiple companies where it was about the money and not the people. And I thought, if I'm going to do this my dang self, I'm not going to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have a limit, Rebecca? Like you're looking at your team right now, and at 12, this is a long way away. But I mean, I came from a company with 400,000 people at one point, and I've worked for a company that I was the number 39 person there. So, when you think about growth, when you think about scale, I like the size of my business right now, and it's me. That's where I'm at right now. I think I'm a great manager and a great leader, and I've done it for a long time. But right now, I kind of like that it's just me. But when you look at a certain size company, there's a point, and it's not every company, but it seems like most people, when you say corporate, it does seem to have a little bit of a negative connotation to it. From it gets big, it gets bureaucratic, it gets all of these things. Communication is harder, managing those people is harder. I've seen so many managers that love the title and the money, but not the responsibility of actually developing people and managing them properly and helping them become the best person they are. And so the bigger you get, I don't know where that breaking point is. I have no idea on the data, but at a certain size, it gets really difficult to probably just run an amazing company where no one talks and no one wants to fire their boss, But for you, do you like 12? Do you think you'll be 24 someday? What are your thoughts? Where are you going with RB Consulting?
Yeah. I mean, we have models built out to about 40 employees right now. That would be over the next, 5 to 10 years, depending on how fast or not we grow. I can't imagine having like 500 employees at this moment. And I mean, y'all know we serve an abundant God, so I never say never and never say always, right? I mean, like, for the most part, unless it's always relying on God. But yeah, I mean, I think we know what it looks like. We built out some like revenue and operational models, so we have some like plans. But I'm really trying to just be open to like where it takes me. Like, I want to be smart about it, but not like, I don't know that there's definitely like it has to grow to 25 people or 55 people. I don't know that matters. I think what matters more is that we're having like impactful work. And that people are like, the team is enjoying the work, our clients are enjoying working with us, and we're doing good things together. Like that matters to me more. And the goal ultimately, I think, of most entrepreneurs and mine is to someday sell this business, right? And like, then it lives on after me, right? Like that's the sort of legacy part. And so we are trying to be smart about setting up processes and using tools and what our margins are and the corporate, and how are we training our people. Kevin and I met through Amber Fields. True You is an amazing organization. Amber is my best friend. So when it comes to corporate culture and HR and all those things, we have great resources and partners to go ask these kind of questions to. And when should I really start getting worried that, not everybody's going to love their boss who happens to be me, but like, so,
we are the term boss is forbidden in our office because we say it stands for double SOB backwards. So we use, I tell Kevin, you can call me leader, coach, knucklehead, any of those will be fine. Just never call me a boss. That
yeah,
word is forbidden.
I'm not a big title person, like just in general, it's not my thing. We use the word boss more like joking than than anything else in my office. And truthfully, I call my team bosses all the time because they're the boss of creative direction. They're the boss of web development. Right. They're the boss of graphic design, all those different things. So, not to say that there still isn't we have processes and you have to deliver on time. And if you don't show up at work, but those things become, in my opinion, less of an issue when you create a place that people want to show up at, right, in the first place. Right. And I think a big part of that is in the beginning, hiring, I think, is one of the hardest jobs that there is out there, right? I mean, when you think about it, you have couple 3-4 hours at most, to think about this person that you're going to spend 40 hours a week with for, I don't know, 20 years, whatever the case may be. And it's hard to know someone like that, but I believe in radical transparency. And I try to establish that from day one in all of my relationships, professional and otherwise. So tell me what you want, in this interview process. And then I can tell you if I can meet those expectations or not. It's an interview both ways, not just us interviewing the employees. They should be interviewing us as well too. And I think with some of those conversations, you figure out quickly, if it's going to be a good fit or not. And I also think another good practice that I learned from a mentor is we start everyone out on a 90-day contract. Let's fill each other out and see, does it work in reality? So I think that's a good best practice for small business owners too.
Yeah.
I have a question. Obviously, you're 2.5 years in, so you're not living the dream and have the total freedom quite yet. But I know just from personal experience, just the flexibility around being an entrepreneur. So can you maybe share one nugget or one gem that has come out of you striking out on your own that you've been able to glean, whether it be just freedom of time or flexibility of schedule? What's something positive? Because obviously it's going to be a grind for anybody thinking about doing it for a period of time, but they got to know what the gems are, because it's everybody's looking for freedom. Everybody wants to get rid of the glass ceiling. Everybody wants to have control of their schedule. That doesn't come right away. But have there been a couple little things that you've really enjoyed most about being out on your own?
Yeah, for sure. Working with the people that I want to work with, both internally and externally. I mean, that's amazing, right? I mean, the people that we spend our time with is huge when you get to choose that, and all around. The time thing I was in sales and marketing my whole career, so I never had to actually go to an office from 9 to 5. I was going to dinners and traveling on the weekends and flying here and there. So I always had a lot of autonomy on where do I work and what hours do I work. Maybe not as many as how many I work, right? I was it took a lot. And there was things I could have done differently in my career to make sure that didn't happen too. But I've learned those through my career journey around setting some boundaries around the time commitment that I'll spend, at work. And that's not to say it looks the same every week, but I make sure that we fit in the time to travel. I mentioned is a huge thing for me. I take 6 or 7 trips a year, and that works.
Yeah.
So
because I can do a little work.
Being able to put the big rocks and the medium rocks and the small rocks, and having more control of that versus somebody telling you where you're going to place your time.
Yeah, but I think the biggest one really is I get to pick who I want to work with every day, from a partner perspective, from a client perspective, from a team member perspective. That's pretty cool.
Well, as we get to wrap up here, Rebecca, if you got a friend, a family member, somebody that's coming to you, maybe even one of your employees someday that wants to, not necessarily fire you for negative reasons, but maybe they have another vision. What advice would you give to somebody that's thinking about this too? that's thinking about
Yeah.
fire their boss sometime?
I mean, I would say have a plan and do it. And again, like the plan doesn't have to be every detail, but at least a step 1, 2, and 3, and start at step 1 and then figure out, do you need a step 1.5 and a 1.75 to get to 2, but just start. I mean, really, like it could be a side hustle. It could be full time. There's so many ways to, to just at least dip your toe in, and then you'll start to see the next steps, as you move. And it might be left, or it might be right, or it might be up, or it might be down, but I don't think we can figure that all out from no steps.
Yeah,
That's right. Just do it.
You got to take action. I agree. I did mine as a side hustle, and you started yours as a side hustle, and I think that is a
Mine was a
nice,
side hustle.
easy
I was
way to get
part-time for a
started.
year and a half before I fired my boss. So
Okay, so all three of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great way to like just start seeing where this goes, and if you like it, and take next steps, and you've got a little bit of security with your current situation. So that was helpful for me, maybe not for everyone, and some people are sitting there without a job because maybe they did get let go or something else, and this is the reason. It's like, this is the time, go now. But
yes, my other piece of advice is listen to this podcast. There's all kinds of great stories, right? And y'all are constantly putting out new ones, and everyone's it's interesting because I listen to several, but before getting to talk with you guys today, and it's interesting how they're all so different, and then there's these threads of like similarities, between all the stories too. So it's kind of cool to see the connection in that way too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking a listen to those. And
For
where
sure.
can people find you?
Oh my gosh. Thanks so much for having me. And yes, you can find us literally on all the things. Our website is rbcgrowth.com. And on there at the bottom, there's links to Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever ones I missed, they're all there.
Yeah.
So, and our email's there if they have questions, and there's a calendar link there that they can book if they have questions or want to chat for a few minutes. But our door is definitely open.
All right.
Well,
Jim?
very excited to have you as a guest. Very excited. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's a big deal. Everybody needs to hear folks' stories because that's where it's at. And continue to run your business from your heart with integrity, keeping the eye on the prize. And just super thankful to have you in the marketplace and have you in our circle and have you as a guest today. And wish you the best of luck. And when you find out, when you drill down the day that you fired your boss, man, you text it to me so we can celebrate every year from that point forward and have a cocktail waiting for you on your 3rd anniversary, which will be coming up here
December 22nd, 2022.
There you go.
There you go. So we say that, July 4th, 1776 was the country's Independence Day, but my family's Independence Day was March 24th, 2002, right? And yours is December 22nd, 2022. And so, yeah, thanks so much. Before we go, we want to mention our sponsor, HayesGroupMarketing.com. Adam Hayes is a great guy. I don't know if you've met him, but does wonderful things for the community, wonderful things for small businesses. And he and Andy and the folks over at HayesGroupMarketing.com, go see him, check him out, and great friends of the show. But we look forward to cheerleading your business and look forward to connecting with you, hopefully one-on-one, and seeing what we can do to create some synergy, Rebecca. So thank you so much. And we appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode. Thank you, Kevin. The all-star of all hosts is Kevin Ling.
Yeah.
And Loaded Dough. We don't talk about Loaded Dough, but that really probably should be a sponsor of the show since you're already involved, right? Loaded Dough.
Yeah.
Check out
Your
the
marketing
cookies.
advisor says yes, it should.
All right. Thanks, Rebecca.
All I know is the
Brand
what
out
is
there.
it? Is it the butterscotch raisin? It's kind of like oatmeal raisin, but it's got butterscotch, right?
Yep.
Key to life. Key to life. And for my wife, anything with giant chocolate chunks is her key. So, well, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks.
Thank you guys so much.